This video is called Deferring Your Dream for Later. It's a topic that's come up a lot. It starts with me. It's something that I was doing for a very long time, deferring what I really wanted to do with my life for a later date. I'm on a nice neighborhood walk here, and the lighting is just really gorgeous. So I was going to film this later, but I was like, why defer it? The topic of the video is deferring your dream. Why should I defer the video? So a little bit more about my story, and then I'll tell you some stories from other people and what to do about it. Because if you're clicking on this video, you probably feel at some deep root in your soul somewhere that you might be deferring your dream, deferring what you really want to do. So, I was building a business. I was making really good money, really good money. I had a lifestyle as well. I was traveling the world. Obviously, a lot of these videos and the evidence of this lifestyle and business are all over this YouTube channel. And yet, it got to a point where I realized I kept hearing myself say something. And it was quiet. It was like, it was definitely like in the back of my consciousness. But it got louder and louder. And it was basically this. It was, I wanted to start producing music. I wanted to be who I really saw myself as growing up, which is an artist. My mom's an artist, my dad's an artist, I'm an artist. But I'd found myself I just turned into this like business guy, this business course selling business guy. And I'm like, that's not who I want to be. So I told myself, well, I could be an artist. I could be an artist like after I make the money, like after I make X amount of dollars. For me, I just kept saying, like, after I make $20 million after tax, then I can just be an artist, because otherwise it's just financially irresponsible. So why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because it's not responsible. And so, you just keep going along and you just keep ignoring it and deferring the dream, deferring it. And I did it for a while until finally 2024, I had enough. And it made me sick. It made me really sick. Like in my chest, I could feel, it felt like glass shards in my heart area right in here. And everything I tried, none of it removed that feeling. And it would kind of come in and out, but it also led me to like want to be really controlling of other people in my life, because when you defer what you really want to do, you just have a base level frustration, and you're trying to do everything you can to get comfort from the outside world. And so I would try to be controlling to my girlfriend. I mean, look, it wasn't that bad. Like, you can ask her. It wasn't that bad, but definitely like more controlling than probably the average person. And I'd be controlling on myself, and my habits and my routines. And it just gets to a point where when you're deferring what you really want to do in life, you just get sick. You just build up this pain and this sickness, and eventually it just gets so bad that you have to do something. So at the end of 2023, I finally did something about it, and I shut down my business. And by the way, oh my God, what's up, buddy? What is up, buddy? How are you? It's a goat. There's a whole bunch of goats in there. Wow. That's interesting. So I don't advise what I did, but this is what I did. I shut everything down. I shut the whole business down. And I was just like, I gotta just figure this shit out. Like, I gotta figure out why I have this like glass in my heart feeling. Shut it down. Happened to move next door to an ashram. And at the ashram, there were monks that lived there. And I would talk to the monks. I would meditate with the monks. They had free lectures every Sunday. And so I would go to the lectures and learn and meditate. And I would study all the scriptures. I was studying the New Testament, the Old Testament. My now fiance, then girlfriend, family is like Jews, so not Orthodox, but they do Shabbat every Friday. I'm getting married in August, and the best man at my wedding's a Muslim, so I had friends that are Muslims, and spoke to people of every faith. I spoke to Hindus, I spoke to people that are atheists. I mean, I've read a lot of atheist literature. I've read a lot of that over the years, though. So I was just searching, and one day this monk at one of the inspirational lectures at the ashram said, on stage in front of a bunch of people, he said, if you want to make a change in your life, if you want to try something you've been putting off for a long time, you don't have to commit to it forever. You can just try it out for 30 days. So I was like, what have I been wanting to try? Maybe that's kind of the root of my issue here. Maybe that's why I feel like, there's a glass in my chest. And so to me, I knew what it was, but let me finish the metaphor. So the metaphor was like, he was like, you don't have to try it. You don't have to commit to it forever. You could try it for 30 days, kind of like you go to the store and you try on a new pair of clothes. You don't just grab the clothes and walk out. You pick them up off the shelf, you go to the changing room, you try them on first, and if you like them, then you leave and you buy, right? So similar to life decisions and things you maybe been deferring. Why are you deferring it if you could just try it for 30 days? So I said to myself, why don't I just do that? So I was like, I've always wanted to make music. I grew up playing piano. I've always wanted to produce. Been deferring this forever. Why don't I just fucking 30 days, just do it. Just be a music artist for 30 days. So I did. And it was that plus the consistent prayer, meditation, reading scripture that it just cracked a code for me, just unlocked what that glass feeling was. I made the song Wait For It, and it was like a total explosion of energy through my body. And that it didn't happen all at once, but slowly I was like, oh my, I felt a surge of energy that I hadn't felt in a long, long time. And so I continued doing this. I just the 30 days turned into 8 months, and the rest of that is kind of the history of the 8 a.m. album and how that all came to be. But I basically spent, the whole rest of the year meditating a couple hours a day, sometimes up to 3 or even 4 hours a day, and then making music. And that led to the creation of the 8 a.m. album, which was super fulfilling. It was about the impermanence of the material world and this whole journey that I was on. And I finally stopped deferring this thing. And what I also realized was you're just not guaranteed another day on this planet. You're just not. So why are you deferring until some arbitrary time as if you're ever gonna even get that much time? And so 2025 rolled around, and I was like, I want to build. 8 a.m. was the brand that started everything. This channel, you go back to 9-10 years ago. I was posting on this channel videos at 8 a.m. The end of the videos, people would be like, see you tomorrow 8 a.m. A lot of my videos are in unlisted playlists, so everything's actually still mostly live. If you poke around my playlist, you can find them, the old college vlogs and the day one videos. And in those videos, people would say, see you tomorrow 8 a.m. And that was always a core part of this brand, was 8 a.m. So I resurrected 8 a.m., started doing the clothing drops again. I started doing, obviously, music now on top of everything. And, the entire just brand kind of feel and vibe is brought back as well, which is super enlivening and super exciting. And along with that was the community. The business that I had grown, Tribe, which was a very cash flowing business, was, it wasn't all bad. It just wasn't linked to the core values of who I am. So I liked an aspect of it. I loved running the community, but I just didn't like the values. It was very much about image management and what people think of you on Instagram, and just wasn't, I don't know. It did a lot of good, but it didn't represent who I felt I needed to be and have the deepest essence. But 8 a.m. on the other hand, is representation of what I feel is my soul, and I could do this shit for 30 years and just rep it, and I want I want everyone to know about it. And it's almost if I met someone I really respected, I would love to talk to them about 8 a.m. and talk about it for as long as I can live, And so I started to let's see how we can do on lighting here. Okay. I started to bring back 8 a.m. I built back the community, and I launched the 8 a.m. community, the network, started bringing people into that. And what I noticed was that a lot of people that were joining were resonating with these ideas that I was sharing, mainly about like expressing that thing that's within you that you're just avoiding expressing. And that's what everybody wants, they want to express, themselves at the deepest level. They want to be that version of themselves that they saw when they were, a kid. They want to be that. And so I started helping people in this regard, and really started taking it very seriously, like earlier this year. And I interviewed tons of guys, all very successful, by most means, making anywhere from $10,000 a month to $30 million a year. And I noticed the same pattern pop up over and over, where people were sold this internet money dream of like make money, remotely, travel the world, and kind of do whatever you want, like the Tim Ferriss dream. But what they didn't realize is that there's a cost. And the cost is building a brand that you're actually not in love with, and all the time you spend on that when you could spend it on doing things that you really, really love to do. Now, of course, if you do the 4-hour work week correctly, you build a freedom business, and you build a business that, doesn't take almost any of your time to manage. And I have a couple of friends that have done that. But a lot of people built prisons. They built they made themselves golden handcuffs, and they didn't do the 4-hour work week business properly, and they built it in a way that they kind of had to be in the business. And so what I noticed with them is that they've built these golden handcuffs, and over a certain amount of time, they also had these fears and these traumas pop up as to why they couldn't go full on into the expression of what they really wanted to do. And these fears and traumas were kind of running them, and the fears and traumas are also what create the deferred dream mindset. That thing of like, oh, I really want to, I really want to, like, for example, there's a guy I was just talking to who's in the 8 a.m. network, who's joining us for the Uluwatu experience that I'm putting together, which I'll talk about in a bit. But he's a guy who, he's done 100 hero doses of psychedelics. And I've never done psychedelics once, but he's like super into it. And I know a lot of people are like big into that. But he had like a traumatic experience when he was a lot younger. I think like 7 years ago. I think he's maybe like 27 now. So I think when he was like 19 or 20, he had this experience where I think he did like a psychedelic for the first time, and his parents were like a bit controlling, and his mom like put him in a mental hospital, and he was in like a straitjacket, and they were trying to like medicate him and all this stuff. And so that traumatic experience was driving him to just build his like $50K a month cash flow business and not do what he actually really wanted to do. And so not everyone has an intense traumatic thing like that. Sometimes the most devious ones are a lot more subtle, because the ones that it's like, okay, I had an event, I had like this thing happened to me when I was a kid. I was like 17 or whatever. And like, something like some like intense things are easy to spot, and then you kind of know how to attack it. But it's the ones that are more subtle that are almost harder to unwind, because you might not even know what they are. You might not even be aware of what they are. And that's what I found a lot of as well, and these blockages, you call them blockages or traumas that manifest as blockages. They make it hard to do so many things that for a lot of people are really quite easy. Like for example, they make it hard to just like talk to a camera like this in public. Or let's say you disagree with your business partner and you want to say something, you just can't say it. Or you disagree with your girlfriend or your wife or your fiance or whatever, and you want to say something, but you just have so much fear, or for whatever reason, it just feels like there's a blockage, like a heavy weight in your, or just like almost like someone's choking you. You just can't say it. So these traumas, they manifest in ways that make it so that you can't even speak your truth. Can't even speak your truth. And that's also a horrible place to be, but that is generally related to the same thing of like deferring the dream. Because if you can't even speak what you want to say to your girlfriend or your business partner, how are you going to actually say what you think and what you feel and what you want to yourself about who you want to be, and about what your dream is? Like that guy that I'm thinking of that has this issue with it's a fifth chakra blockage. Chakras is a whole other topic I could go into in a later video, which is so crazy, and it's not pseudoscience. It's like actually, it's I can prove it to you. Like the chakras are real. This might sound woo-woo. It's just, I promise you, it's just not. But this guy, he wants to do this. He wants to make YouTube videos, but he can't even he can't even speak the truth to his own business partner. So it's like, what the fuck? Another one of my friends really wants to be, there's a guy that makes $1 million a month. And he wants to be a streamer. And he is so funny and charismatic and social. And if you met him, you would literally think, the way he dresses, you would literally think he's like in FaZe, like he's a FaZe clan member. But he had this blockage, and I can't even say what the blockage is, because if I say it and you guys look at my Instagram, you'll probably be able to piece together who I'm talking about. I don't want to blow up his spot. But basically, his parents, viewed him a certain way. Let's just say he had strict parents. Because he had strict parents, the idea of streaming, the idea of he runs his business, makes $1 million a month plus. That's fine for his parents, to view their son that way. But to go and then be a streamer, he came up with all these excuses as to why he shouldn't do it. Oh, it would hurt my business. And I'm like, dude, do you think that clavicular is hurting for business opportunities? He's like, oh, fuck, you're right. I'm like, do you think Logan Paul and Jake Paul are hurting for business opportunities? Of course not. You think, I mean, the number one streamer in the world is basically Donald Trump, right? And he's the president, the billionaire. How is that? He's like, oh, well, people don't look at me as professional. I'm like, dude, that's just not true. So people cap themselves, and they cap themselves. I notice a lot of the guys I talk to, of course, are in this kind of internet money space. And what I've kind of looked at from the matrix, I'm like, okay, an internet money guy, even if you're making a couple $1 million a month, you're still in the internet money space. You're still you have a cash cow, but you don't have you're not A-list. You're D or C list at best. And if you want, who do we really want to be at our core? We want to be we want to be Kanye. We want to be Drake. We want to be Chalamet. We don't want to be just internet money cash cow business guy that sells tongue scrapers on from Alibaba. We want to build real shit and be known for who we most importantly, who we see ourselves to be. So that's what Uluwatu, that's what the 8 World Uluwatu experience is really all about. It's about committing to the version of yourself that you could see at some point being A-list, that represents the core of who you are, and that over 10, 20, 30 years, you can compound that value of being who you really want to be. And of course, in the short term, it might not make as much money as your current venture. But if you think about it, if your current venture, there's a cost to that, and it's your soul, and it's your energy, and it's your life force going into something you don't like, and you feel doesn't represent you, and all the times you have to painstakingly admit what you do for work, and you're not proud of it, doesn't represent you at all. That cost is that's a lot. So Uluwatu is about putting that down and committing to the new version of your identity, of yourself, that is like the most highest expressive version of you, that is creatively unleashed, that you commit to now. And I work with people, like anyone who signs up for Uluwatu, I work with them, and I have this whole way to diagnose like exactly what the blind spots are that prevent you from doing it, like your unique ones that stem from whatever trauma you might not even be aware of, to then building out the brand universe, like kind of how I've built with 8 a.m. You know, you've like 8 a.m.'s like this whole universe, and and so I help you do that. And then at Uluwatu, at the experience, you know, you book in a villa and you come together, and it's 6 days surrounded by people that are all aligned in their craft for that time, not doing what makes them money, not doing what they've traditionally been like half decent at, but doing the thing that they feel most called to do, and letting that be the foundation of the next several decades. So that's what we're building with the Uluwatu experience. You can go to 8amapp.com to check it out, learn more about it. If you want to be around a bunch of people that are alive, that feel alive with their work. And it's three things. What I've realized, what everybody wants is three things. They want to make money, obviously, but they also want to feel spiritually like, well, they want the lifestyle. They want money. They want the lifestyle. Like they want to be able to travel. They want to be able to eat at nice restaurants. They want to be able to drive a nice car if they want to. But they also want to feel like they're building a legacy. They want to feel like the business that they're building represents themselves at the deepest, fundamental creative core. And when you have those things going, all three firing, you've just got it. It's like the it's like the trifecta. It's the trifecta. So yeah, that's it. I think that's it for this video. See you in the next one.